the international president from Australia, Clem Renouf. Clem asked me if I would serve on a special committee of Rotary of just 3 men to design a program for Rotary which was called the 3H program, Health, Hunger, and Humanity. And what this meant was trying to see whether this worldwide organization working in 185 countries of the world could have projects that would be corporate directed by the Rotary International organization, rather than up to that time, most of Rotary activities were Rotary community programs by individual clubs. And so this new committee designed a concept that maybe many clubs or the Rotary organization itself could work and do much larger activities than they'd ever done before. So we looked around. We had about, maybe 15 proposals of projects. And so we had one project that came out of the Philippines. Some Rotary leaders, namely 2 leaders, Benny Santos, who was a physician in the Philippines, and Matt Caparas, who was a Rotary leader in the Philippines, had this idea: if Rotary could provide the vaccine, they would immunize all the children in the Philippines against polio. I think 6 million children or something of that magnitude. So we started on that project and funded a program. We immunized with the mobilization of the Rotary clubs in the Philippines. We mobilized the entire nation, and we immunized all the children in 1979, 1980. The next step in that process came about in 1981 when Stan McCaffrey was the world president, and he asked me to chair a committee called the New Horizons Committee. The New Horizons Committee was kind of look to the future. What's the future of big programs in Rotary International, or what will be things that will be coming up that Rotary ought to undertake? And so I chaired this committee, and we looked at many suggestions. And finally I says, we really ought to be thinking in much farther than just 2 or 3 or 5 years. This was 1981. We ought to look forward to Rotary's 100th anniversary in the year 2005. And maybe we could make a gift to the children of the world by immunizing all the children of the world. Well, I was so naive and so probably ignorant of the magnitude of such a suggestion. Finally, in 1984-85, when Dr. Carlos Canseco was the world president of Rotary and I was the vice president, he says, if we're going to do that by the year 2005, we've got to get going. It's only 20 years ahead. And so Dr. Sabin was invited to come to Rotary headquarters, along with several other world-renowned immunologists, and they had a meeting. And Dr. Sabin says, well, that's a big goal, but if you do that, you're going to have to immunize at least 500 million children in the world, and you're going to have to raise $100 million just to buy the vaccine. And I thought, gosh, what an awful idea we had. But we had already made the commitment. So Rotary had never raised, as a world organization, more than about $5 million in any year. So we started on a campaign, and we said, since Dr. Sabin said we needed $100 million, we better set the goal for about $120 million in case we fall short or we have a little money for fundraising. So that was the goal. And by the year 1987, we reached the goal, and we had raised $240 million for polio immunization. And so that was a start of one of what has been described as one of the greatest humanitarian activities of any organization in the world that was not a governmental organization, of starting mobilizing the Rotary clubs of the world to conduct national days of immunization.